Hello farmers and aspiring farmers. Thank you for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. Now we always make an effort of bringing in episodes where we encourage our Zimbabwean farmers to diversify their farm operations. Today we are going to be looking at piggery, specifically at sow management. Now you would find that when it comes to pig management, there are certain aspects that a farmer needs to take cognizance of if he's going to make a profit out of his ventures. In this very episode, I've taken the liberty of inviting Mr. Ndlela. He is the piggery manager here at Pig Industry Board. Mr. Ndlela, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Watanai.
Yes. As we get into our discussion, this episode is centered on sow management. What determines fertility?
Okay. Thank you, Watanai. Like you have said, piggery, for any piggery unit, the sow management is very key, or it's very crucial. It is actually the engine that drives profitability of any piggery enterprise. Now, coming to your question, when you're talking of fertility of a female pig, we are just looking at the ability of the pig to conceive. So when we're talking of fertility, there are factors that we should actually take cognizance of, especially during the development of the gilt. Because there is the gilt, which is the female pig that is not yet farrowed. Then there's the sow, which is actually farrowed. So when we're talking of fertility, the first thing that you should actually look at is to make sure that the animal is cycling during the production phase.
Okay.
After every 21 days, you will find that our animals, they cycle. So the first key aspect that you should actually realize on the pig is it cycling after every 21 days?
Okay.
That's number one key that you should look at when you're talking of fertility of the pig. So after every 21 days, the pig is supposed to come onto heat. Then for heat, I think it takes just about 3 or 4 days, but maximum 72 hours.
When it comes to sow management, are there any diseases that you might want to highlight that affect fertility?
Yes, there are quite a number of conditions that can actually affect fertility. It depends now if you are doing natural service or artificial insemination. When you are doing artificial insemination, what you need to make sure is you clean the vulva first, because there are actually infections that can get into the reproductive system during the process of artificial insemination. And we can have conditions like cystitis. Cystitis is one condition that can actually affect the fertility of a sow. So whenever we are dealing with fertility issues, we should make sure that we practice effective hygiene.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I want us to look at issues surrounding artificial insemination and also the physical mating of the boar and the sow. Is it possible for a Zimbabwean farmer to start his piggery project maybe with 2 sows, he cannot afford a boar, and just rely on artificial insemination? Is it possible for starters, number one? Secondly, is it sometimes our Zimbabwean farmers end up being skeptical? They are not sure when it comes to artificial insemination. Are there any maybe key fundamentals that you want to highlight when it comes to engaging in artificial insemination, and just maybe words of encouragement that you might want to encourage our Zimbabwean farmers when it comes to embracing the new technologies that are coming in, such as artificial insemination? Is it possible for a farmer to rely specifically on artificial insemination, say he cannot afford to purchase maybe a boar as of yet?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's very possible. A farmer can actually start even with 1 sow and rely solemnly on artificial insemination. And for artificial insemination, it's actually cheaper because the cost of feeding a boar for the entire year, because we are saying a sow can have a farrowing index of maybe 2.5. That is, it can farrow maybe 2.5 times. So for you to keep a boar for the entire year when you have got 1 sow, it may be costly in terms of vaccinations, in terms of feeding the sow. So yes, the farmer can actually rely on artificial insemination. And for the fundamentals for artificial insemination to be very successful, there is need for to maintain the cold chain, especially for the semen, because the semen should be kept between 16 and 17 degrees. So we encourage farmers, when they are coming to buy their semen, to bring their flask or the cooler bags so that they maintain that cold chain. Because these are living spermatozoa. So once the temperature, there's a temperature fluctuation, it means the spermatozoa can die. So that's why most farmers say artificial insemination is actually not working. But at the same time, because here at Pig Industry Board, we are actually using artificial insemination. And in terms of success rate, we can say it's about 90 to 95%.
When it comes to the life cycle of a sow, which periods, what months, at what age, or after how many years do you say this sow has reached its maximum? Maybe it's time we slaughter it and make meat out of it. And secondly, I want us to look at the conditions that you say it is for us to conduct our artificial insemination.
Okay, let me start by the stage or age by which we can cull our sows.
Okay.
Yes, so when we are talking of culling of the sows, we are talking of maybe around the 10th or 11th parity, but it all depends with the productivity of the sow. You may find that even at 9th parity, when we're talking of 9th parity, we are saying it is farrowed 9 times or 10 times.
Okay.
So you know the farrowings, they actually peak with every subsequent service.
Okay.
So between the 1st and the 6th, that's when we have the peak. So after the 6th parity, that's when we can have a decline in terms of productivity of our sow. So we can actually sow maybe after 5 years of service, 4 to 5 years. That's when we can sow. But it now depends on the productivity of the sow. And when we're talking of productivity, we're talking of how many piglets in terms of litter size is it giving us.
Okay.
Because they tend to be a decline in terms of litter size with age.
Then the issue of artificial insemination, is it possible for them to come with their sow and say, inseminate it, and I'll go back with it to Karoi?
Thank you for that question, Wadzanai. I wouldn't think it's possible because, like I said, the first aspect that we need to make sure is to detect the heat. That is very crucial. So heat can only last for maybe up to 36 or 72 hours, depending whether it's a gilt or it's a sow. So we encourage our sows to check their heat each and every day. And the first day they realize that the sow has come onto heat, they should actually come and buy semen. So we sell them semen, then they go and do their artificial insemination, or they find someone who can do the artificial insemination for them. It's not possible for them to bring the
sow here.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Ndlela, for such a detailed presentation. On that note, viewers, have come to the end of the first segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. Today, we are looking at sow management, how you can manage your female pigs, because they are responsible for reproduction, on how you can increase your pigs when it comes to pig production. Now, viewers, encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, so 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai, make a follow-up on this episode and more, and leave your comments and suggestions. They are most welcome to us. Our YouTube channel is Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on X, formerly known as Twitter, where most of these discussions take place. Our Twitter handle is at Agribusiness110. Now, earlier on, before the break, we were zeroing in on issues surrounding artificial insemination. I am here with Mr. Ndlela in the second segment. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you, Wadzanai.
As we get into this discussion, Mr. Ndlela, I want us to look at issues surrounding stillbirths. What could be the causes, for starters, and in what ways can you assure that as a farmer you are curbing the risks that come with stillbirths, miscarriages, or mummified conditions? Okay,
thank you. We encourage our farmers to religiously vaccinate their animals because the issue of miscarriages, the issue of stillborns, and the issue of mummified piglets, it zeroes around the issue of vaccination.
Okay.
Right. For our sows, we encourage farmers to vaccinate against what we call the parvovirus. Yes, parvovirus is given. The parvovirus is given 2 weeks prior to breeding.
Okay.
That is 14 days. Right, so this vaccine actually helps to prevent the attack of parvovirus to the piglets. So if you do not vaccinate your sow against parvo, that's when you have the issues of mummified piglets, stillborns, and also miscarriages. Then another issue that can also cause stillborn is stress.
Okay.
Yes, during the gestation period, especially during the first trimester of gestation.
Okay.
If the pig is exposed to excessive stress,
Okay.
it can actually reabsorb its piglets and terminate pregnancy. If it is exposed to stress during the last trimester of pregnancy, it can result in stillborn piglets.
Okay.
Yes, so those are some of the management aspects that we encourage farmers to look at: stress and also the issue of vaccines.
Okay.
Yes, we also have a vaccine which is Litterguard. Yes, it also protects the piglets against the E. coli bacteria.
Okay.
Yes.
When it comes to the gilts, I understand that a gilt is a female pig that has never given birth before,
Yes.
that has never experienced the gestation period.
Yes.
At what age, after how many years or how many months, does weight play a role when it comes to the gestation period or to issues surrounding it mating with the boar or artificial insemination? What are we looking at in terms of age, size, and kilograms?
Yes. What really matters when we are mating our gilts for the first time is the weight.
Okay.
But obviously the weight also corresponds to the age. But usually we are saying between 130 kgs and 150. That's when we are supposed to start mating our gilts. Either we are giving the male for natural service or we are doing artificial insemination. Then in terms of age, it will be around 8 to 9 months, but latest I think is 7 months.
Okay.
We can start to mate if it has attained the right weight in terms of weight, yes.
Okay. Now looking at issues surrounding stress and management of the sow, can you talk to us in terms of the feeding regimen? What are those essential nutrients kune nguruwe, kuna mai vakazvitakura?
Okay. Right, when we're talking of sow production, we've got 2 productive phases that a sow should be in: the gestation phase and the lactation phase.
Okay.
And when we're talking of feeding, the feed that we give to the gestation animal or the in-pig animal is different from the feed that we're actually giving to the lactating animal in terms of nutrient density. Yes, for the gestating animal, you will find that they are less nutrient dense. So before we move the animal to the farrowing house, that is maybe a week before, there's also supposed to be a transitioning diet that we give to the sow before it moves to the lactating sow or to the lactating meal. Yes. So in terms of nutrients, for the sow which is lactating, it's supposed to be given a more nutrient dense diet, because it is supposed to cater for the milk or to produce milk for the piglets.
Okay.
Right. So it will actually be on the lactation meal. Then it is also supposed to maintain its body condition so that it does not compromise on the next reproductive phase.
Okay.
So nutrition is very key. And when it's in gestation, we can be giving up to 3 kgs per day for one pig. But when it is here in the farrowing house, we can give up to 7 or 10 kgs, depending on the number of piglets. Because for every piglet that is born to the sow here in the farrowing house, to the mother's ration, we add 0.5 kgs.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
But the sow is actually on 2.5, between 2.5 and 3 kgs, depending on the body condition.
Looking at the litter, looking at the piglets that would have been produced, what could be the cause or the management style that a farmer needs to employ to ensure that a sow can produce more piglets, for starters? Secondly, I want us to look at issues surrounding the fitness of the piglets when it comes to lactation. Management, how do you do it to ensure that each and every piglet is having an equal opportunity when it comes to kunyadzi kuyamwa?
Okay, thank you, Watsanai. Right, the first aspect on born alive or total born, the number of piglets that is born to a sow. The first factor I would want to attribute it to nutrition, especially nutrition during the lactation phase.
Okay.
Because nutrition during the lactation phase determines the number of ovums that are going to develop in the next reproductive cycle. So we encourage farmers to make sure that they optimally feed their sows during the lactation phase so that they do not lose on body condition.
Okay.
That's number one. Then when it comes to piglets, you know, piglets are very specific. Yes, we have got a gilt which is given to birth to 21 piglets.
Okay.
Yes, and it has got 16 functional teeth. Right, so it means the remaining, is it five or five
They might
piglets?
struggle to get a teeth.
Yes, so what we do is we do split suckling, whereby we take a certain number of piglets that we can give to the mother so that they can suckle whilst we are enclosing the others. Yes, then the next cycle we also give those that were enclosed to the sow. Or we can actually cross foster. We can find another sow which is actually given birth within the same period of time. Then we can foster those or move those piglets to the other sow. And that should be done within the first 3 days, because if a teat is not suckled within the first 3 days, it actually dries off.
Okay,
Yes.
in terms of increasing fertility, is there any way or any chemicals or any management tips that you might want to highlight to our Zimbabwean farmers?
I would say it all hinges on your nutrition level, especially post-weaning. When we wean these sows, we are supposed to introduce them to what we call flash feeding. This flash feeding will actually help in the development of the ovum that will actually make your sow to be more fertile.
Okay.
Yes, there are no chemicals that we can give to this sow.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ndlela, for that. On that note, viewers, we've come to the end of the second segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in that third and final segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, farmers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. Today, we are looking at pig management. We are here in the third and final segment, Mr. Ndlela.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I want us to look at issues surrounding delivery. When a sow is about to deliver, there might be some indicators when you look at as a manager, as a farmer, and say that, you know what, a person can 2 days, Maya give about wow. And what are those indicators, for starters? And secondly, how do you ensure that at the end of the day, the sow is giving birth to nguruwe tupenyu?
I will start with the sure signs that our sow is just about to give birth. Like I have said, we move our sows maybe a week before the process of farrowing. Right, we put them here. Then we put the bedding. Right, if you see, because bedding, actually the sow has got a tendency or an instinct of preparing a nest.
Yes.
Yes. So if you see the pig or the sow preparing the nest, it is a very sure sign that it is about to give birth. Because nest building, it starts maybe 12 to 24 hours before giving birth.
Okay.
Then when it is about to give birth, you also find that the sow becomes so restless. It lies down, stays up, you know, it becomes so restless.
It will be in labor.
It will be in labor, yes.
Okay.
And in terms of feed intake, it will be reduced. Yes, and the valve actually swells, and you may start to see some milk coming out from the teats. It is a sure sign that our sow is just about to give birth.
Okay.
Yes, and when we are talking of management during the process of giving birth, the first management aspect is to make sure that all the piglets that are born to the sow, they are able to suckle the first milk, which we normally refer to as colostrum. Okay. What is the importance of this colostrum? The piglets, as they are born defenseless. They don't have any form of immunity. So they can only acquire the immunity through the suckling of the first milk, which we normally refer to as colostrum. And we encourage our stockmen to be ever present when our pig is actually giving birth. Because the pig is in pain, especially for first timers, the Gilt.
Yes.
It is in pain. It can actually sit on the piglets and crush them. And that contributes to about more than 60% of our mortalities, especially in farrowing.
Okay.
So the stockman should be there to remove the piglets and put them in the crib area up until maybe the sow is farrowed or is finished the process of farrowing.
Okay.
So those are some of the management aspects. Then we may have 2 piglets which has come into the birth canal.
Yes.
And the pig may find it so difficult to give birth.
To push.
To push, yes. So we may also assist the pig by going in.
With your hands?
With your hand. Then you can
and
actually
pull out the piglet.
The piglet.
Okay.
Yes. Or you may find that the sow is actually finding it difficult to push. We can actually inject what we call oxytocin. Oxytocin helps in contracting of the muscles. Yes, but we should not try that to gilts. We should try maybe to our sows.
Okay.
Yes, and we should make sure that it is actually difficult. Finding it difficult to push.
How long does it take for a sow after weaning off its piglets? How soon can it conceive again?
Okay, after weaning off the piglets, we only have maybe less than 7 days, depending on your flushing regime. It can take 3 to 4 days.
It will be fit enough.
Before they come back onto it, then we can sell.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking at investing in housing, can you talk to us in terms of appropriate infrastructure? What does it look like? The farrowing crate.
Okay, thank you for that. This is one example of a farrowing crate. A farrowing crate should actually allow or confine the sow so that it does not turn. It can only stand and sit on its side, either side, but it cannot turn.
Okay.
So that's the design of a farrowing house. The reason being that we do not want the sow to crush the piglets.
Yes.
Then in terms of design, we also need to have a creep area. Right, this is the sort of a creep area. Yes, we may also have dimensions, but they may differ with the farmers. And in the creep area, we are supposed to put some artificial form of heating. In this case, we have put our infrared heat because we need to maintain the temperatures between 27 and 32, especially for the young piglets, because they need to have an environment which is almost imitating the environment inside the sow. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking still at issues surrounding housing, I want us to look at a properly ventilated area, aligning it to issues surrounding hygiene, sanitation. How do you ensure that within a farrowing pen it is clean, there are no pathogens, and the piglets are thriving properly? Because at the end of the day, if the conditions within a pen are not very clean, it can be a breeding ground for diseases, for pathogens, and result in mortalities. What are we talking about when we are looking at issues surrounding sanitation, proper ventilation? Can you just maybe touch briefly on that as we close this segment?
Okay, thank you. We usually encourage slatted floors so that when they poo or they urinate, it actually gets into the slates, so that we avoid moist conditions in every farrowing house or in every farrowing pen, because that actually breeds infections like you have highlighted. So in terms of ventilation, yes, pigs, they need ventilation, and in terms of our farrowing house, there is we have got some doors in terms of ventilation, so there is very need for ventilation.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, in a snippet, how soon can a sow wean off its piglets? And what maybe during what period do you introduce solids to those piglets? Now they can consume the piggery meal. At what stage are we looking at weaning off the piglets, and how soon can they start consuming solids?
Okay, I will start with consuming of solids. At 7 days, we introduce our piglets to creep feed.
Okay.
Yes, because we want them to get used to the solid feed before weaning. Then we wean off them at 5 weeks. That is when we separate them from the sow, and we move them to the weaner section. We move the sows back to the dry sow section. So we are weaning at 5 weeks, and we are introducing the creep feed at just about a week.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ndlela, for affording us an opportunity to look at pertinent issues in pig production, aligning it to our vision as a country of becoming an upper middle class economy by year 2030. We also look at issues surrounding our nutrition. Yes. Protein plays a pivotal role when it comes to our daily diet as human beings.
Yes, thank you, Wazanai.
Yes, on that note, viewers, we've come to the end of this week's edition. We were looking at sow management here at Pig Industry Board along Arcturus. From me, your host was Zanai Manyore. I'm also on Instagram. It's a W Manyore. And the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.